What if I told you that the greatest robber in history didn't wear a mask or hold a gun? His weapons were a tie, a flawless reputation, and a chilling smile. He cleaned out the pockets of thousands, from Hollywood stars to ordinary pensioners. His name is Bernie Madoff. But was he alone? Or was there an invisible Wall Street Mafia behind him? Watch until the end, and you'll find out how a pyramid scheme really works from the inside, and what secret signal could have saved billions of dollars if anyone had paid attention. Picture New York City, not the one from gangster movies with Tommy guns, a different one, a world of glass and concrete where sharks wear Brioni suits. Here, in the very heart of the financial universe, its own godfather was born, Bernard Madoff. He wasn't some thug from the streets. He was an insider, a respected investor, former chairman of the NASDAQ stock exchange, a philanthropist. His word was law, and his fund was a safe harbor for the elite's money. His family wasn't a gang of thugs. It was the most influential people in America. Directors, actors, bankers, heads of corporations, they all brought him their money, believing that Bernie was a genius who had found a secret formula to wealth. He promised stability, not sky-high profits. 10–12% annually, ironclad, like clockwork. In a world of turbulent markets, it sounded like magic, and everyone wanted a piece of that magic. So, how did his scheme work? Everything ingenious is simple and devilishly cunning. On paper, Madoff supposedly used a complex strategy, but in reality, there was no strategy. There were no trades. The money from new investors simply went to pay off the old ones. A classic pyramid, a Ponzi scheme, named after the Italian immigrant who pulled off something similar in the early 20th century. Only Madoff's scale was truly kingly. Why wasn't he caught sooner? This is where it gets really interesting. His protection was his own reputation. He created an aura of exclusivity. You couldn't just walk in off the street to his fund. You needed a recommendation. You had to be a friend of the family. This created the illusion of a private club for the chosen few. People weren't just investing money. They were buying a ticket to high society. And who would complain about a pass to paradise?
The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, launched investigations several times. Analysts like Harry Markopolos screamed for years that Madoff's numbers were mathematically impossible. He provided them with hundreds of pages of proof that the whole scheme was a giant fraud. But the officials were either blind or didn't want to see. Madoff was part of the system. He was one of them. To admit he was a fraud meant admitting their own incompetence. And that was his Wall Street Mafia, an invisible network of connections, handshakes, and mutual favors. In this world, reputation is more important than actual results. As long as you're in the circle, they take you at your word. Madoff played by these rules masterfully. He knew no one would dare dig deeper into a man who dined with senators and donated millions to charity. He was untouchable, like a mafia don in his prime. His office on the 17th floor of the Lipstick Building was a real fortress. It was here, hidden from most of his employees, that the fraud was orchestrated. Only a handful of the most trusted individuals knew the truth. They manually forged bank statements on an old IBM computer, like counterfeiters in a basement. They created the illusion of bustling activity, sending clients perfect reports of non-existent trades. People believed these papers like holy scripture. They watched their fortunes grow month after month, year after year. They made plans, bought houses, paid for their children's education. They felt completely safe. Meanwhile, their money was long gone, used to pay off earlier investors or to fund Bernie's own lavish lifestyle. Penthouses, yachts, private jets. He lived like a king on the back of stolen hopes. Like mafia families, the Madoff clan had its own code of silence, omerta. His sons, Mark and Andrew, worked in the legitimate part of his business, and according to them, knew nothing about the pyramid scheme. But how could you work side by side with your father and not notice that his investment division was a black hole from which not a single sound ever emerged? This question still haunts many.
For decades, this empire of lies stood unshakable. It survived several market crashes. When everyone around was losing money, Madoff clients steadily received their profits. This only strengthened his reputation as a financial guru, a man who had managed to cheat the system itself. But in reality, he was just cheating his clients. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing, a shepherd leading his flock straight to the slaughter. As in any crime drama, the end was inevitable. In 2008, the global financial crisis hit. The river of money stopped flowing. Investors, panicked by the market collapse, rushed to withdraw their savings. They wanted to pull out about $7 billion, but that money simply didn't exist. Madoff's ship, which had seemed unsinkable, had sprung a massive leak. The pyramid began to crumple. In desperation, Bernie gathered his sons and confessed everything. "It's all one big lie," he said. He hoped the family would cover for him. But his sons acted not by the laws of the mafia, but by the laws of the state. They turned their own father in to the FBI. The godfather of Wall Street was arrested in his Manhattan penthouse. Without a single shot fired, his empire collapsed overnight, burying the fortunes and fates of thousands under its ruins. The damage was colossal, around $65 billion. These aren't just numbers. Behind them were real tragedies. People lost everything: life savings, homes, hope for the future. Some couldn't bear it and took their own lives. The French aristocrat René Thierry Magon de la Vieille Huchette, having lost his client's money, committed suicide in his New York office. This was the price of believing in a beautiful fairy tale. The fate of the Madoff family was tragic as well. The eldest son, Mark, unable to bear the weight of shame and accusations, hanged himself exactly 2 years after his father's arrest. The younger son, Andrew, died of cancer, claiming to the end that the stress had triggered a relapse. Bernie's wife, Ruth, was left with nothing, despised by the world. The great financial dynasty had turned to ash. Blood and tears, that was the end of this pursuit of easy money.
Bernie Madoff himself was sentenced to 150 years in prison, the maximum sentence. At the trial, he said he could not forgive himself for the pain he had caused. But looking into his cold eyes, few believed his remorse. He was a predator who, until the very end, believed he was smarter than everyone else. He died in prison in 2021, taking many secrets with him. Where did some of the money really disappear? And who among the powerful knew the truth but remained silent? This story isn't just about one man's greed. It's a story about blind trust and how easily people can be manipulated by playing on their desire to believe in miracles. Madoff didn't force anyone to give him money. People lined up to be deceived. This is a lesson for all of us. In the world of finance, just like on dark streets, you can't trust beautiful promises. Trust, but always verify, because the only free cheese is in a mousetrap. Today, the name Madoff has become a household word, a symbol of grand deception. But has anything really changed on Wall Street? Have new, more cunning schemes emerged? The financial world is still full of temptations and predators ready to do anything for profit. The story of Bernie Madoff is an eternal reminder that behind a glittering facade of respectability can lurk a ruthless and calculating mafia, playing by its own brutal rules. Madoff's story showed that the most dangerous gangsters can hide behind the most respectable smiles. Did you like the video and want more stories like this? Then hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.
As soon as we get 2,000 likes, I'll release a video about how the Italian mafia tried to control Hollywood and what came of it. Write in the comments which financial fraud shocked you the most. Stay vigilant and don't let yourself be fooled.